Well, welcome, Jakub Piatek. What a fantastic film Pianoforte is. How did you get access to this competition?
So I've been following people from Chopin Institute for 4 years. So competition happens every 5 years. So a year after the previous edition, I just follow them and ask about making this film. And happily, because I'm not a musician myself at all, but happily I was a filmmaker to hire, kind of. So I worked with them before, and it was teasers for concerts, and that's how I got access also to the scene of classical music. And whenever, for example, Marta Argerich entered the stage or rehearsal, I always keep thinking okay, what brought her here, what kind of an effort. So that's how we started.
And going back to who we see in the film, how did you choose the characters? Because of course at the beginning of the competition there's no way of knowing really who is likely to win or even make, say, the final 12.
Okay, so before the actual competition, which happened 2 years ago, in October 2021, there's a couple months before, there's something called preliminary round. There's 160 of them. From that number, it's reduced to 87 that started competition. So I asked I just did something which in fiction film is called casting. So I asked all of them to self-record a small video, answer a couple of questions, and that's how I could met all of them, virtually, in a footage. And you can also see. It was during pandemic, so you could see their rooms, teddy bears on the piano, or whenever how they put the camera. And then I asked 40 or 50 of them for deeper 1 hour long online conversations, and I could also follow them during the preliminary. And before the competition actually happened, we choose our protagonists. So it was also betting against the competition itself. And in high school, back in my high school, I was in with advanced math kind of a group. So I knew that we gonna have 1.5 participant in the final stage. There's 3 stages and final stage, but we've been lucky enough for having intuition to have a little bit more of them.
And so you're talking about probability theory of who might wind up. Oh, this is very intriguing.
Yeah, but we from the very beginning we knew that, and maybe that's what interested me the most, that we are making a film about not winning and about not winners, and I've personally know much more about not winning than winning, and about not being in the first place, and I think it's this kind of experience is common for all of us. So the ending words of the last dialogue of the film, it's what you feel right now, it's normal.
Yes, and I think that it certainly makes it universal, because even the greatest in just about any field experience loss in some way, and it's actually probably more interesting because how many of us are winners all the time? Not very many. So I think it makes it much more poignant. But it's also, I think, at least for an American audience, it's a bit of a surprise, because I think we're sort of trained to say, aha, okay, it's going to be one of these people you're following. And then when it doesn't, it doesn't happen. It turns out to be Bruce Liu who wins. It's kind of shocking. Did you realize the audience would, at least some members of the audience would probably be surprised by that?
Yeah, so like when you are living in Poland, it's like a shop like Warsaw International Airport. It's called Chopin Airport, so it's like more in your like blood, like the and like Poland is like really like into football. It's like a football nation, but every 5 years when Chopin competition is starting, like Poles switch from football to scherzo, etudes, and concertos, and yeah. Sorry, I missed your question.
I just was wondering about surprising the audience yeah.
Okay, I got you back. So like making this film, and like it struck me because like we premiered at Sundance, and it struck me that not all of people know about Chopin competition. I thought it's like with 30 million people like watching the streaming just during the October when competition happens, that like there won't be like spoiler alerts about like who won, and I kind of love this kind of reactions. It's like that's not our guy, it's like we invested so much like emotions with towards Eva or How or someone else, and who is that guy, with all the respect towards Bruce and like his music, and him also as a person.
Who, you said you're not a musician, but who did you think would win? Did you have a sense as listening to all these incredible performers, but did you think, I think maybe Hal's going to pull it out, or Eva, or...
Yeah, we played a little bit with also with expectations, because I remember like it's like also it's like really tough for them. They are they are people who are commenting. It's also about the internet, people who are commenting like how they looks, or hair, or not only the music. So I remember, for example, like what was in the reviews about Eva performances, like she's like really tough, and in this like all like speedy movements of music, like she's like really good. So we just put like a piece of concerto with this really poetic kind of like slower parts of concerto number 1. And during the process, I've never been in the hall during the performance. I didn't have the time. I was with them in practice rooms. I was with them in a backstage or in a hotel, because what was like the most important for me, in a way, that not to focus on the stage, but to focus on those moments that are before or just after, to maybe, because I strongly believe that maybe it was like the last possible moment to tell about them as human beings, as people, young people, with their problems and desires, and not about like this big artist with a PR team on board, and people who does for them like social media, because it changes overnight to this like unicorns who are on stage.
Yes, I mean, it's clearly a life-changing event, because if you win that, I mean, your career is launched. It's it's an extraordinary thing, and there is a before and after. It'll never be the same afterwards. I think it's such a remarkable achievement in your film, where you allow the audience to feel like you're in the mental headspace of these people, as these performers, contestants, competitors, as they're getting ready. And partly that's achieved through sound design, and occasionally muffling the sounds. You feel like kind of the echo in their head. But how did you achieve that? And was that one of your primary goals?
We kind of like discovered it during the editing. And of course it's like with a documentary, it's like you're like balancing a little bit, if it's not too far to kind of like interfere with something that is called reality. that you're like, because it's like interpreting. I never been in Eva's head, for example, when like over her head, like the teachers are talking about her and her performance. So, but like the main goal was maybe to be close as possible to the, you know, to this experience of being in a competition and being in that moment with them.
Well, I think you really bring us into it. You also very interestingly use rock music in your score at a couple of moments early on, and then maybe about 2/3 of the way in, which I think really worked. But talk to us about your decision to do that, to break up this classical music occasionally.
Yeah, it was like also like really early in editing room, and like thankfully to producers of the film, they kind of fought for keeping the music that we used, like, you know, at like during the editing, and to clear the rights. And it's just because it's like, you know, that's the music that was like with me, or kind of music that was with me when I was like, you know, entering maybe a little bit of adulthood. And also, you know, it's like when there is like this opening sequence with archives, it would be nice, you know, in 2023 or 2021, like see those people as rock stars. They are like not anymore, like maybe from 70s. It changed a bit. So yeah, that's the tools that we have, that like maybe even in a film we can do that.
You know, it makes me think of Van Cliburn, who won this competition in Moscow in the 1950s, and it was a huge deal, you know, partly because of the Cold War. And he was a bit of a rock star, although, you know, I think it was that in this case he's playing Tchaikovsky or not Chopin necessarily, but that we're not quite in that era anymore.
No, we are not, and also like because okay, I'm not a musician. I don't play any instrument, but I discovered like a Philharmonic Hall for myself when I started studying, and I discovered like classical music for me, and I strongly believe that you can be with a classical music like just on emotional level. Okay, you can like deepen the interest and then read about it, like listen to different recordings and dig in it. But I remember, you know, being in a Warsaw Philharmonic Hall and, you know, having tears in my eyes just listening to the music, and for the very first time, and that was also like our goal, maybe to speak to people, to audience in a cinema who are not into this kind of film. And like the most rewarding like moments for me so far is, you know, people after the screening who are like like saying that, okay, I'm gonna like it's all for free on YouTube, so I'm gonna like go back home and I'm gonna like listen to some Chopin music.
Well, they're wonderful shots of the reaction of the audience, in particular to How, when he's playing, and you see tears in the eyes of audience, and you understand why, because it was getting to me. I was having that emotional reaction too, and there's something quite beautiful of capturing that moment of what the music is doing emotionally to people in that hall, but us also listening to it as an audience and viewing your film.
Yeah, it's like I think, because if you think like on logical level, it's kind of like bizarre that like there is like 600 people who are gathering in one hall, looking at one stage, and there is like one person like taking sounds out of the black box. But also like with the times that we are living, right now, with all the noise everywhere and just something that it's like really instant. It's like beautiful moment that you can like stop yourself for like half an hour or an hour and like just be there present at this very moment. I think it's like and also that they are mm, they are like talking to us about their own emotions. I'm talking about the musicians, about the artists. Also, like this competition that happened, we could follow. It was like incredible because it was like after 2 years of COVID. So for some of them, it was like the very first performance with a live audience, and you could like feel it in the air, like this, this kind of like a sacred moment for audience members and for the artists.
I was reading about the history of the competition. Started in 1927. If I read correctly, the man who began it was sort of reacting to the fact that sports in general were super popular in Poland. Meanwhile, a romantic figure like Chopin, nobody was taking him seriously. Oh, he's soft. Well, he's playing this, composing this beautiful romantic music, and he seized on this idea of, a competition, that'll get people into it. We see Michele in particular, who's just expressing this kind of notion of like, why did we do this to ourselves? They're being put through hell in a way, all these competitors, and yet there is something very compelling about a competition, and it sort of parallels what we expect in a sporting arena. But why do you think we like competition so much? Why do we do this to ourselves?
I remember because like I'm lucky enough that all of our protagonists likes this film and want to travel also with us to present the film. And I remember after one of the screenings, Alex Gadziev like said that people also loved gladiators back in the days. It's like and we watched all seasons of Game of Thrones, and people were dying there trying to get on the throne, and it's like kind of like the same mechanism. It's like but it's like it's the same with the film festivals as well, and it's and all of art is like really subjective. So yeah, it was like really I think also it was like intuitive at the moment of like just picking up the protagonist, that there's Michel Candotti, there's Alex Gadziev, like people who are just kind of like discussing with the idea of the competition itself, and I think like from the Mozart time, like a classical music world needs like it's called like a wunderkid. It's like like this special young musicians who are gonna feed the machine, so to speak.
And Chopin himself was a child prodigy, and so he's they're following in every respect in his footsteps and in that way. But what are the release plans for the film? It's going to be seen in U.S. theaters, right?
Yes. So we. Greenwich Entertainment is going to release the film in cinemas. We are starting at early December 1st, I think.
And you premiered, as you mentioned, at Sundance. But what would you say are your hopes for the film? You talked about some people certainly being experiencing classical music in a way that they haven't before, but are there certain hopes that you have for how it may resonate with audiences?
I feel like being privileged, like double privileged almost, because first of all, I had like a front row seats at the Chopin competition, and we gained a trust and access to our protagonists, to be that close to them, and second thing is that it's my first feature-length documentary, also first screenings of the film from Sundance, now on 4 continents, and there was a screenings that they attended, and the reaction of the live audience is for me that kind of magical as for our musicians during the Chopin competition. So it was it would be like great to spread Chopin music a little bit more, and also like to share this experience and those like really talented but still young people who has like their own issues like everybody else at that age.
Well, congratulations to Jakub Piatek for a really magnificent film, and I look forward to theatrical audiences getting a chance to see the film.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having us.